Now, in that Getting Started course, we did, of course, look at networking briefly, but let's take a closer look now. Now, you can see in here, in the vCenter interface, this looks slightly different to what we saw on the direct host user interface. We can just see this VM network, this virtual machine port group under the HA. We're going to take a look, however, at the host and go to Configure and Networking. This is where we get the bulk of the functionality. So we can see there's a vSphere standard switch. This is everything that we configured while we built the lab in the Getting Started course. We have the management network and the VM network, both of which have no VLAN ID defined. We've got a physical adapter there. In this case, this is actually a virtual host, so that's effectively a virtual NIC within a physical another ESX host. But for all intents and purposes, that's our uplink to the outside world there. We have our VM kernel adapters here. More details there about our physical adapters. And TCP/IP configuration, this is where we can see the DNS routing, etc. information for our host. And we can also configure that separately on the other host. Now, that's important. These networking configurations are separate. So what I'm going to do is, just as a quick demonstration, I'm going to say on this one, I'm going to add networking. I'm going to add a virtual machine port group for a standard switch. I'm going to put it on vSwitch 0. I'm going to call it, or VM network 2, we'll stick with that just for simplicity, and finish. Okay, and we've added a network there, and I'm now going to go onto my Windows 10 virtual machine, VM network, browse, and it's not there. And the reason for that is that host, that VM is running on that host, and I haven't defined that network on that host. Okay. Similarly, if I try to move, if I go to here and add a virtual machine port group on this host and call it VM network 3, and I'll finish. Similarly, if I now go into Windows 10, into this Windows 10 VM, change the network to VM network 3, so that's defined on host 2 there. This virtual machine now won't be able to fail over. If one of these hosts is lost, it won't be able to restart that virtual machine on the other host because the other host doesn't know about VM network 3. So this is where we get a feature called vSphere distributed switches. So if we go back to the cluster level, look at networks, we have this distributed switches item here. And this is where we can define a switch that spans the whole cluster. So that is a virtual switch, has similar functionality to the standard switches, but it means that we only have to configure things once. We don't need to define the virtual machine port groups on each host individually. Now, when we've only got 2 hosts, it's not a big deal. What about when there's 100 hosts? And we've got to add that virtual machine port group to every single one of them. Now, you'd probably script it, but distributed switches makes that a lot simpler. But the key thing about vSphere distributed switches is that they are only included in the Enterprise Plus license for vSphere. You don't get them in the standard license or in the Essentials Plus or Essentials packages. They are only available in the Enterprise Plus license level for vSphere. So that's an important thing to remember.